I look back on the days with Mel's band and when Bob came in as musical director as very special. It's a very special time in my own career and my own development as both a composer and a pianist. Of course, I knew who Bob was. I was familiar with his work with Clark Terry, the quartet that they had in the 60s, and I was familiar to some extent with his writing for the Jerry Mulligan Concert Jazz Band and then a few of his other own projects that he had written. But what was a challenge for me, when he first came in, he wrote two pieces that left me open as a soloist to do whatever I wanted. One was First Love Song and the other was Ding Dong Ding. And this is the first time anybody had ever done this, for me at least. The band plays and plays and all of a sudden everyone stops and it's up to you to come up with a solo. And the first time we did First Love Song, he had a few chord changes written in the piano part, and I said, "Do you want me to play those?" He said, "No, just play whatever you want." So, you know, when I would first play those arrangements, about 8 bars before the piano solo would start, I would think to myself, "Okay, first I'm going to start with this thing, and then I'm going to go into that." Well, I found if I did that, I might start with this thing, and 4 bars later I was completely lost and screwed up. So I thought it was better, you know, the band would play, and as soon as they stopped, just get on the piano and start playing, and not playing anything out. But also, to my advantage was we would go on these tours with Mel's band, where I might play First Love Song every night for 5 weeks. And so I started to develop some ideas about how I would shape the solo, because the shape of the solo was very important. And what I was going to say with the solo, it wasn't about the notes or anything like that. It was what am I saying here in this piece at this time? But the fact that Bob had enough trust in me to take care of this was, it was an honor, and I was really kind of blown away by the fact and intimidated by the fact that he wrote this stuff with me. So those were on the first album that Bob did as a leader with Mel's band. The one with the blue cover, Bob Brookmeyer, composer, played something. It's a real long title, I forget, but it's the one with First Love Song and Ding Dong Ding, and Skylark is on that as well. Then, about a year later, he wrote a lot more music for the band, and we recorded Make Me Smile. And that was the stuff that really showed me another way of thinking about jazz composition for a big band. In those days, what was the A side of the LP was a suite that he had written. It was Make Me Smile, that featured Dick Oates, Nevermore, which featured Tom Harrell, and Nasty Dance, which featured Joe Lovano. And there were little connective ideas that connected the whole thing together as a suite. But more importantly for me, each piece had a song in it. But the piece wasn't about an arrangement of the song. The song was one element, but then he would take a small element of the song and develop that into a solo form. And just to see how he treated the solo form in each of these pieces was a real ear opener and a mind changer for me. And then on that album, he also wrote a piece for me called McNeely's Piece, which was a 12-tone kind of affair that I remember there were, there were a lot of major 7 sharp 5 chords. It was really hard to make any sense out of the solo, and we played it just a few times. And every once in a while somebody will say to me, "Oh, I heard that thing that Mel's band played of yours called McNeely's Piece." And I said, "Well, that's actually Bob's piece." But that was really, really tough harmonically to make sense of. And then in those days, I also was playing with Bob. He had a sextet that had sometimes Dick Oates, sometimes Tom Harrell, Joe Lovano. Mel played a lot. We did we did a week up at SUNY Binghamton in the early 80s with Adam Nussbaum and Mike Moore on bass. We had a great time. And Bob's music was really, as opposed to his big band writing, which was at times quite complex, his writing for this sextet was very, very simple and open-ended. And that was the beauty of it, that we'd play, and then the magic was in what happened after the written part would happen. And especially when you get the right players, like he always managed to do in that band. It was great. And in playing that music, I started to see this balance between simple structure and freedom in improvising. And besides playing with Bob's sextet, I used to play some duo with him, and then we played some quartet music, and so it was always a learning experience to try to really support his energy level and his sound and the kind of the darkness that he got in the sound of the instrument. But it was the music that he wrote for Mel's band really challenged me as a player and also as a composer arranger to really start moving in a certain direction. And then in those days I used to go to his house. He lived up in Goshen, New York, and we'd talk about music and watch a football game and eat a little food and talk about mutes and so forth. Those were good days, but just on those informal conversations I learned a lot too.